Okay, so I'm doing this recap on my phone's camera because obviously if you watched any of my videos on my channel, you know that I use a laptop camera, which absolutely sucks and it's totally subpar when it comes to YouTube channel quality in 2023. So, it's a slight upgrade. So what can I say about that final? Well, actually the first thought that I had when the match was done is that the score, because I guess I love stats, the score was exactly the same as the 2018 final versus Juan Martin Del Potro. It was 6-3, 7-6, 6-3, and it was 1 point away of being exactly the same because the tie break in 2018 was 7-4, and in 2023 it was actually 7-5. The second thought that I had is this was, I guess, the first time since I don't know when Novak actually returned and read Medvedev's serves really, really good. Now, don't get me wrong, Medvedev didn't serve that well. His percentage wasn't high. But for Novak to put in a lot of serves. I mean, I have scars from 2021. I remember that match, and even after when he beat him in Paris, I think that year, and even after, when they played, I always feel like Medvedev is just this guy who goes out, and even if he doesn't serve 75% of first serves, even if he serves like 60%, he's going to make the most of it. He's the guy who's going to get 80, 81, 82% of points won on first serve versus Novak, which is basically unheard of. But he's the guy to do it. And yesterday, actually, I think I checked the stats. It was 71%, which is a win for Novak. And on second serve, actually, I think he won less than 40%. In comparison of 2021, when he, I think, won 81% on first serve and 58% on second serve. So that was a huge gap. I do not have any. I think Novak's return was 9.7 out of 10 yesterday. Like, of course you can improve on certain shots, certain situations. I guess you can attack the second serve a bit more, but he didn't miss a single return on second serve. I legit do not remember him missing a single return on second serve. And on first serve, pretty much when he had a returnable ball, he maybe missed one or two returns. So it was great job on Novak. And the story of that match is that in the first hour and a half, the gist of the key points were always played on Medvedev's serve. And, in comparison with 2021, when the whole match was basically, well, not the whole match, but basically the first 2.5 sets were played on Novak's serve. Like, Medvedev was winning every single one of his service game. He got onto a lead. It was 15-0, 30-0, maybe 30-15, 40-15 game Medvedev. Every single one of his service games was that. And a lot of time when he plays Novak, 80% of his service games is like that, and then maybe there is a game he gets into some trouble, but he can still serve out. Now, what happened here is that Novak actually got onto a hot start, and Medvedev was stone cold in the first service game. I mean, he was playing awful, and actually, the first set was pretty straightforward. I mean, yes, I think there was one or two 30-30 on Novak's serve, but it was Medvedev who had to fight for every single one of his service games. And even when it was 5-2, he had to face 2 set points. And, maybe the final would be a little bit easier if the first set would be 6-2, then Novak would serve in the second set. He wouldn't have faced, set points, only break points, whatever. But kudos to Medvedev. I think towards the end of the first set and, the first part of the second set, despite the fact that he was, constantly facing pressure, constantly it was 30-30, 40-40. When it was 30-30 and 40-40, he managed to find a great serve, get an advantage, and actually Novak didn't have a ton of break points. He had 2 break set points in the last Medvedev service game in the first set, and I don't think he had a single break point until 3-3 or 4-3, whatever, in the second set. So it was a bunch of juices, but it was never a set point or a break point for Novak. So, and it was due to Medvedev. He did not give Novak any chance. And even when it was a break point, he managed to play an excellent point, finish it really fast. He was always ahead. I think he had 2 break points in the 7th game of the second set. And after that game, which was, I think, 10 plus minutes, the match kind of changed. Novak started getting, or actually Medvedev started to get into longer rallies. Novak got a bit fatigued, and I got kind of annoyed by the announcer saying like, oh, Novak is fatigued, like if Medvedev wins the set, Medvedev is the favorite, blah blah blah. Like, Novak really gets fatigued. He has these like 10, 15, 20 minute stretches when you think this guy is going to die on the court, and then, you know, half hour later he's just like spring chicken. So I mean, it's just typical Novak. He's excellent when it comes to knowing his body, his energy preservation, and, you know, he's always going to be ready to play 6 hours. You know, don't worry about that. You know, even if you're a Novak fan, don't stress out over, you know, him having a couple of weaker games and, you know, maybe looking like he's going to collapse on the court. He's perfectly fine. They played a couple of good points. Medvedev started to, you know, channel his inner 2021/2023 semifinal type of tennis when, you know, he was just a complete wall. You know, he could not make a single mistake. You know, I think we had like three or four 36-shot rallies, you know, somewhere placed in the late first and early mid second set. So it was a really high quality tennis, and the crowd started to getting into it. The crowd was, I think, 50-50 roughly, and, you know, that's when I started thinking, like, this final was kind of really dead in the first part. Like, you know, Novak got an early break. He was this, you know, slight favorite. I mean, the odds makers had him 2-1, which is, you know, kind of realistic. But a lot of people thought that, you know, Medvedev can give him a lot of trouble. And, you know, it was kind of like a nothing final that far. Novak was just simply better. And then when Medvedev started, you know, playing better and actually had did he have 2 or 3 set points? I know that Novak saved one with a ridiculous half volley. That was excellent quality. And the second one, actually, Medvedev had an open passing shot down the line, but he chose to cross-court hit it right on Novak's racket. So Novak kind of got away from that. And at that point, when it was 6-5 in advantage Medvedev, I thought that the score was actually going to be exactly the same as the Alcaraz semifinal for Novak this year. It was 6-3 and then 5-7. And I thought to myself, well, this is kind of different. Not because I don't trust Novak cardio. I think Novak's always going to beat Daniil in 5 sets. But because I think that Novak was easily the better player in the first 90 minutes of that match, and then he kind of had like a downswing, and to be 1-1 when you were the better player in 90 minutes and then you were the worst player and for 20-25 minutes kind of sucks, you know. I mean, he only had one break at the end of the day in the first 2 sets, so that kind of sucks. It felt like he was always there, he was always putting pressure, but it was not, you know, it didn't have any, you know, fruit, or how to say that. Like, you didn't get any reward for that. He was just there. He was just playing juices, but he never broke through. So, I mean, it was kind of key for Medvedev to hold so many times in those tight matches. And, you know, then the pendulum swing. And then, you know, they played the tiebreak, and Novak actually double faulted. And he always double faults on the advantage court. Because I guess he tosses the ball too much forward, and every single double fault was he was actually tossing the ball too much forward, and then he smashed it into the net. So, you know, that was kind of, you know, weird to see. And Medvedev had a minute break, but then he actually made a mistake, I think. So it was 3-3 on the exchange, and there was this huge point on 4-4, which Medvedev won, and it was 5-4 Medvedev. So Novak had 2 serves, and it was 5-4, and you think that, okay, Medvedev's a bit fresher. And then Novak played an actually great point, backhand on backhand. I mean, he hit like 6 or 7 backhands on Medvedev's backhand cross court, of course, and he managed to break through. So it was 5-5, and then it was just when you try to grade Medvedev in this match and in this tournament, I guess, you know, in this match he kind of had a shitty start, but, you know, he got better, and then he played great. Against Alcaraz, he also had kind of a shaky start. He had like 6 double faults in the first 3 games, but Alcaraz did not manage to break through. So I guess maybe that's, you know, the difference between Alcaraz and Novak, you know, on this tournament. And then, you know, the one thing that was so inexplicable is Medvedev's return. Like, the way he was being exploited when the kick serve hit his forehand, it was just absolutely ridiculous. Novak could serve volley all day, all night when he hit that kick serve on Medvedev's forehand, and he just had the open court and he could not miss. And when it was 5-5, Novak hit the kick serve, and actually Medvedev missed the return by like 2 meters. So it was kind of weird to see that Medvedev was so stubborn. Like, it's obviously not going to work. Like, yes, maybe once in a blue moon you're going to hit a devastating return, or maybe the serve isn't going to be that good, so it's going to be right on your forehand and you can rifle it in. But you know, it was just kind of weird to see. It was super exploitable, and Novak did that. I mean, Novak exploited that. So again, it's 6-5 Novak and Medvedev serving that. I thought, man, this is just like the Alcaraz Wimbledon final. So as you can see, I actually have a lot of like thoughts in my head during the match which compared to like different matches during the season or during the past. So I thought this is the Alcaraz match. Novak won the easy first set, and then his opponent started playing better in the second set, had some opportunities, but now we're in a tie break and it's 6-5. Novak has a set point and his opponent is serving and we are playing a point. But guess what happened? It wasn't Novak who made the cheap mistake, it was Medvedev. He just missed a relatively easy for his standards back and he just put it in the net. So that was just, random. After that 4-4 point, when he was up 5-4, it was like 30 plus shots. And then, Novak won a quality point, and then two just really lame points for Medvedev. One was a super exploitable trait of Medvedev that Novak exploited, and the second one was just like a nothing mistake. And, it was over after that. And I actually checked the odds, and the odds makers had Novak only at 5-1, which was kind of weird because they had him 2-1 before the final. And for some reason, everybody still thinks that when Novak is fatigued that he's going to just like collapse on the court. He's not, dude. He has cardio. Like, he may look bad at some points, but he will come back. So, like, that was, especially when Medvedev also had a medical timeout. So, that was totally weird to have those odds. But, I thought that, that's pretty much it. And the third set, well, it was also pretty straightforward. There was back breaks. Medvedev was angry at his coaches. By the way, I actually found out that his coach is French like maybe a week ago. I legit thought he was Russian because he has that beard, he has that Russian look. And, I was like 100% sure that Medvedev's coach was Russian, but then I actually Googled him and, I found out that he's French. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, the third set was kind of nothing. Novak got ahead. He was serving first, which means a lot to him, of course. And, he got the break, then, had a poor game and then got a break back. And my stream was actually also lagging, so, I didn't actually catch the second break point. But, it was kind of it. It was 5-30. And Medvedev played a couple of excellent points to push it to 5-3. And then, I kind of got... I'm not going to say kind of got scared because I knew that Novak was still going to, win eventually. But, I had like bad memories when it comes to Novak closing out matches recently. Just go back to Cincinnati. He couldn't close out Zverev. He couldn't close out Alcaraz. He actually had trouble closing out Jarrett when the match was pretty much over. He had trouble closing out Fritz. He had trouble closing out Shelton. So I was like, okay, man, Medvedev is going to be on this. He will not give up. But, somehow, some way, Novak managed to... Was it 15-30 actually in that game? I'm not really sure. Maybe it was in the previous game. I'm not really sure. But Novak managed to come through and win the final. And, it is what it is. I think this final was decent. I think, the first hour and a half was kind of flat. And, I was really happy that Novak won, number 24. But what can I say? It was just, maybe I don't know. Like, maybe the quality of tennis wasn't that high in certain points. Maybe I won't have, like, really excellent memories besides Novak kind of collapsing and then Medvedev falling and then laying on the court. So it was just like a okay-ish final. The one thing that kind of annoyed me by Novak is his serving is sometimes, like, so... I'm not going to say trash, but he served 54% in a final, and I don't think he served any better here than he served against Alcaraz. I mean, in the Wimbledon final. So I think he struggles a lot in certain points when it comes to serving. That's the thing that he kind of has to fix. When it comes to his ground strokes, his backhand was, 9.5 out of 10. His forehand, he did make some mistakes on forehand. I would, say his forehand was like 8 out of 10. His return was excellent. His volleys were excellent. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Medvedev, he played slightly better versus Alcaraz. But as I said, I think it's interesting because Medvedev started out both way the same match. Jeez, what I'm trying to say. Medvedev started out both of the matches in the same way. He started out slow. He had poor service games, but Alcaraz didn't manage to, exploit that, and Novak did. So actually, that was the difference. When it comes to the rest of the season, Novak is actually ahead 670 points, I think, of Alcaraz in the ATP race. And of course, in the ATP rankings, he's ahead like 3,000 points because he has a lot of points to defend and Alcaraz doesn't up until the end of the season. I think he's definitely going to play Paris. I think he's probably going to play Shanghai, and then he's obviously going to play the season-ending tournament. Will he play Astana? Will he play I don't know, Basel or whatever? I don't think he will. Who's going to be the world number one at the end of the day? Well, Novak has an advantage, and it kind of, if he has decent level of tennis, I think he should make at least the semifinals of the season-ending tournaments, and then of course who gets Medvedev in the semifinals, who gets Alcaraz, blah blah blah. But I think he's going to win some decent points at the end of the year, and hopefully he can be number one at the end of the year. Now, when it comes to 2024, what kind of, I was actually thinking about some side quests. What can Novak, achieve in 2024? And one of the things that kind of nobody talks about is that, obviously, nobody has defended all four of the majors at least once in their career. And actually, Federer only misses the Roland Garros because obviously he won Roland Garros only once. Novak, in a weird fashion, never defended the US Open or the French Open. So one of my, kind of wishes for 2024 is that Novak could defend perhaps the French Open and the US Open, become the first man ever. Well, that would also make him the first man ever to win all four majors 4 times. 4 times 4, that would be kind of cool. But also the first man ever to defend each and every single one of the major tournaments at least once. That would be kind of cool. 400 weeks is actually really close because he's mathematically guaranteed to have at least 397. What else? Of course, the Olympic Games. And of course, kind of like greedy wishes like 40 Masters. Well, that's not really greedy. He has 39 Masters. So, 40 Masters. Win every single one of the Masters 3 times. He needs Monte Carlo for that. I doubt that will happen. 418 weeks to double Nadal's tally of 209. That's kind of like a, personal greedy wish. I think that's also realistic because, if he ends the season at number 1, he's going to be number 1 at least like 410-ish weeks up until the end of Australian Open, when Alcaraz can realistically overtake him because Novak defends 2,000 and Alcaraz nothing. So it's basically the reverse of the US Open. What other greedy wishes do I have? Well, of course, all 4 majors. I don't know how realistic is that. It seems like when you look at Novak, he has lost 1 match and 1 match only in the past 3 seasons when it comes to majors. So he lost 1 match here in 2023 versus Alcaraz. In 2022, of course, he couldn't play 2 majors, but he lost only 1 to Nadal. In 2021, of course, he only lost 1 to Medvedev. And you can go back to also 2020 and 2019 because in 2020, of course, there was no Wimbledon, but he won Australia. And he has 1 loss to Nadal, and then he got defaulted at US Open in 2019. He actually has also 1 loss to Thiem, and he did not finish the match versus Wawrinka. So at most he has 2 losses in the past 5 seasons per season at majors, which is a ridiculous stat. It doesn't look as cool as Federer's streak from 2004 to 2008 because of various reasons, because of COVID, because of bans, because of disqualifications. But, he's kind of doing what Federer was doing in the early mid-2000s when he was dominating. He was the best player in the world in majors. He was the undisputed world number 1. And, maybe, you can argue about competition and blah, blah, blah. That competition thing, it's kind of obvious that right now there are 2 or 3, well, with Medvedev, 3 great players, and the others kind of struggle. But, it's just one of these things, like, what can you do? Zverev got injured, Berrettini got injured, Nadal got injured, a lot of people got injured. Zverev is coming back, Zverev is going to be back, and I guess Zverev is my pick to end up as world number 4 at the end of the year. I feel like Zverev had awful draws in the past couple of tournaments. Like in Cincinnati, he had to play Medvedev in like the 3rd or 4th round because of the seedings, and then he lost to Novak. Here he had to play a really tough match versus Dimitrov, and then he had to play Sinner, and then he had to play Alcaraz, and that's in the quarters. So, his seeding isn't great, and his draws wasn't great, but his quality of tennis is improving. He's playing pain-free. So I fully expect Zverev to be at least number 4. I fully expect Tsitsipas to start doing something, changing something. Sinner is also there. Sinner is improving. Rune will not disappear. So, these guys are going to be there. Everybody seems to be kind of out of form or injured or something like that, but I fully expect the quality of the ATP Tour level to, be back, by the, let's say, early 2024 season. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That was the last Grand Slam tournament of the 2023 season. And yeah, that's it.